How's it going? So let me quickly explain what does filter options do in the autocomplete component. So the first thing you need to understand is that one sec. Okay, so there are first two. Well, let me show you what it's used for. So when we are typing something, let's say we have foobar. So one way to use it, you can have a hidden value. It's a shitty use case, but it demonstrates the power of filter options because you can practically return anything. So let's say we type 1, we get a hidden value. Do you see? So what we can do is, based on the string inputted, we can say blah, return foo. I'll show you. Look. So if state.input value equals blah, now this thing always has to return an array. We want to return options. What is foo in options? Foo is number 1, so it's going to be 0. You can do it either this way, or you can do it just manually. Just type label foo. Now you have to remember, this thing has to always return an array with stuff in it. With basically, it's kind of like, look at the options, the way you constructed the options. It usually has to return something very similar to this, but I mean, you can type name if you want in it, but it's up to yourself. So look now, if we type blah, it's going to give us foo. You see? So you get the idea, like you can map anything to any string. So let's say we have, I don't know, 10 values, and let's say we want a male. So we type, let's say, male in here, and it will return us. And then here you can just filter your options by whatever you wanted to return. So it's kind of like a filter, an extra filter, if you want. Do you know what I'm saying? In reality, there is already a built-in filter that does that, but if you want something more spicy, you can kind of do this stuff. So you see, you have one use case where you have a value that doesn't even exist in the options that can be returned, or you can just custom whatever, custom build it. So that's second way of doing it, right? The third way, if you want to completely change the options for no reason whatsoever, you can also do it. So like, for example, let's say we want to return one and 2. I know it's the most confusing stuff ever. I'm kind of doing this video for myself, but maybe somebody will benefit from it. But I mean, it's like specific use case for what I'm doing, so this kind of video is more for me, but you might benefit from it as well, you know. So now look, original options were foo and bar, but because we're using filtering function, we can literally return anything we want. So now it's going to be, the options are going to be 1 and 2. You see? 1 and 2. And if we get rid of this, it's going to be back to foo. Foo and bar. So I think it's reloaded. Foo and bar, you see? Okay, so the second thing I want to talk about is the arguments. Wait, my apologies. Okay, so filter options has a function and it has two arguments. Options, which is your original array, which is this thing here. Whatever you pass into this will be basically this. It's an array. And then state is gonna be get options label. Yeah, so you have two things in it. You have the input value, which is whatever you type. You can see what we type, we get input value, and get options label. It's another function. I don't use it right now, so I don't know why would you use it in here, but I'm not going to be using it. Like I don't think there is any use case for it, but you see. But bottom line, if you want to get to the input value, you can get it through state. State.input, and whatever is in here is going to be what you type. And then based on that, you can obviously start mapping it. So again, like if state input value is equal to whatever you want, and then return whatever the hell you want. And this will show up in the dropdown. So again, you see if we just type 1, we will get hidden. So you see we type 1, we get this value. And normally it's not even there, because it's not part of the options. And that's it. Now the only caveat is, the only difficulty is, since this value does not exist in the original options, you will get complaints about the yellow complaints. Like this value doesn't exist, blah blah blah. I'm gonna make a separate video on is value option equal to value, because that's the way to handle it correctly, right? But if you want a shortcut, you can just type free solo, and this allows any input, and this you see this no longer complaints. You can type anything you want, select anything you want, and you're not gonna get this yellow warning. But the problem is your drop-down icon disappears, so you don't get the little drop-down icon, you see. So now it's going to appear back, you see. Because most of the time you want to make sure that your options are equal to what's being selected, and if it's not, you really need free solo, which means they can type anything and select anything they want. Or you're gonna have to manually handle it, which I'm gonna make a separate video on how to map it, right? So, and what does this function do? So, to avoid, well, I'll make a separate video. You can just put in the, it's gonna be next video, so you'll see it's quite easy to handle. Okay, take care, bye bye.